Guys, welcome to the BritAsia podcast, and yes, we are in Toronto, and it's only right that we bring on one of the biggest names to come out of Canada. He's a producer, he's a singer, he's worked with some of the biggest artists in the industry, and he's also opened the door for a lot of the biggest artists that, we listen to today. It's the one and only Deep Jandu. Deep, what's going on, bro?
What's up, man?
Good?
Yeah, thank you for coming, man.
No, all good. Listen, we're in your hometown. It's only right that we speak to you.
Appreciate it.
And, we celebrate your journey because you've done a lot for the Canadian music industry as well as the Punjabi music industry. But, you've been in the industry for, I'd say, close to 20 years, right?
This year is going to be, I think, 19 years or 18 years.
And that's duration, right? That's longevity. Like, not a lot of people do that. Kind of just, how's it been, that kind of 20 years? Because you've been through, that's like, a lot of transitions in music you've been through, right? How's that transition been for you? Because you worked with some like the old school boys, the new school guys, and now you're working with that next generation as well.
I think musically, it's benefited me actually, because I was at the time period when there was cassettes, CDs, old compositions, and now it's completely changed. So I feel like if you talk about musically, it's really, really benefited me because I'm so used to listening to old melodies and I can bring them into the new music and mix them together with the new guys,
But do you find it a challenge to kind of you have this new generation that kind of behind you, but you're also kind of having to like pave the way and kind of be creative? Because the thing is, someone that's a lot younger may have kind of more creative ideas, whereas yourself, you might find that sometimes creativity comes hard because when you've been doing it so long, you might get that creative block, etc. Have you dealt with that?
For me, I think it's been exciting because every step has been a different journey for me. Like, it's not like I've been doing one thing the whole time. When I was a kid, I used to DJ, I used to release mixtapes, and then slowly I started doing Bhangra, and then from Bhangra I did Boliyan. Boliyan, I started learning how to sing classical music, the Vaja, then I learned the harmonium, then I became a music producer, then I went back to becoming a singer. So it's like every time there's something new,
But for those obviously that are following your journey now, because a lot of these new generation people think that Deep Jandu just came like the last 5 years. Yeah,
it's been a while.
Let's take it from the very, very top. You mentioned you started with a DJ mixtape.
Yeah.
And then obviously Bhangra. What kind of got you into the music kind of thing?
So when I was a kid, I think me getting into this, I got to give it up to one of my chachas. His name is Jay Dila. He was a rapper here in Toronto.
Was he the one in Ishq Brandi?
He was in my Shera Nayari song.
Okay. Yeah.
So he was one of my starting influences to get into this. Musically. So at that time he used to rap, go out doing hip hop shows, and he would take me to DJ for him. And then slowly, I got into production with hip hop and learning how hip hop beats are made and everything. But at home, in my heart, I still had love for Punjabi music. So I was trying to mix them together, And then once that started off, then I started remixing Punjabi songs, releasing my own remix CDs when I was like, young, 2005, 2006, I think I released my first.
But North America was the home of bootleg mixes, right?
Yeah.
You had if you look back at it, you had DJ Jitten, you had Sunshine, you had DJ APS, you had DJ Sanj.
Crazy, yeah.
North America kind of paved the way of this hip hop kind of mixtapes, etc. But then obviously from there you then transitioned into obviously a dancer. How important was that kind of transition? Because look, I came from a Bhangra background as well.
Yeah.
I found doing Bhangra got me closer to my culture even more.
For sure.
Language improves, your circle and mindset improves. What impact did that have on you?
Well, at home, there was always Punjabi music playing, man. I give it up to my parents too for bringing me up in the upbringing. Even though when I go outside, my friends would be listening to hip hop and listening to whatever was going on at that time. But when I'd go home, my parents would always be speaking Punjabi at home, and there'd be Punjabi music playing. Because I had that in me, I was always like pushed towards Punjabi music and about the culture, the Bhangra, how to play the tumbi, learn about sarangi, just like things about our culture. So I was always attached to that, And I think being involved in Bhangra team and learning Boliyan from there and dancing at one point. I'm not a dancer now, but at that time, the little things like that really brought the culture in me more, and I got to learn so many things, which at the end helped me as a producer,
Let's talk as a dancer, right?
Yeah.
You dance with some infamous names who became rappers and famous personalities. But the Bhangra scene now is quite toxic as dancers, right? And it's always kind of had that, as in we celebrate the culture on one side, but the other side is just rivalry becomes competitive, which becomes whatever. Did you ever kind of experience that stuff as a dancer? Or even as a singer? Because
I think competition always good, healthy competition always good. Even with the Bhangra teams here, growing up with the Bhangra competitions and going to Bhangra teams and practicing, there's always healthy competition. There's always competition going on.
But you think up and take it one step further?
Well, we're Punjabi. We always want to, But there's always good competition. There's always bad competition. I believe you should always just keep pushing yourself, because without competition, you cannot improve yourself. You know what I mean? So I think it's good. Competition is good, and from back in the day when I was doing with Bhangra teams and all that stuff, it was then too, and it's somewhat now. It just keeps you moving,
Yeah. And then if you talk about kind of the Bohemia transition, it's folk Bohemia. Bhangra teams dance to folk traditional Bohemia, but if you look at folk music now, it's becoming very rare. Yes, you got to evolve with times, etc. But the late Shurinder Chindaji passed away.
Yeah.
Some people said that was it. The book's kind of now closed on the folk era. Have you is that something you still kind of hold close, that folk music?
Folk is always going to be close to my heart, man. There are guys now doing it, man. There's always going to be a new generation doing folk. Folk will never die. It's our music. Even if there's Punjabi music and hip hop or Punjabi music and reggaeton, the bass is still folk. The sodas, the keys are still folk. The compositions, they can't be changed that much. You know what I mean? There's only like so many rags in our music, but folk I'll always hold dear to my heart, man. Folk is the backbone of us. All the experiments we do, it all comes from folk music. And for myself, it's all the music I heard for so long growing up. That is the backbone of what I'm doing.
But we're singing. Like, how did you actually learn? Like, how did you?
Yeah,
and this is a question, because I think it's important to ask that, because some people think, look, yes, there's God-given talent.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you got to practice. You got to have someone guiding you, because otherwise.
For me, man, like, it's everything just happened by itself. There's no plan. Like, even when I was doing Bhangra, at that time, I would be singing along to the songs while dancing, and then people around me, they're like, yo, you have actually a good voice. Why don't you try singing? And then they pushed me towards doing Bolia in the starting of the Bhangra teams, and then I would be making beats at home, and then I'll start singing on my own beats to see how it sounds, because no one at that time wanted my music. So I'm like, let me see how my own voice sounds on it. You know what I mean? So it's just experiments, just doing experiments with yourself. And
but did you ever get like classical lessons though?
Yeah. I learned from Ustad Mahesh Malwani. He taught Soni Babla, all the big artists from out here. My Fufurji, Ustad Jagdish Singh Virdi, which is the father of J. Dila, who started, that was the rapper. I learned from him as well. And it's all been a journey. I've been always learning, and you can never stop, man.
Yeah. But then a question I want to ask about kind of singers, like you have a lot of singers that come to you, right? That you've worked with, etc. Do you ever say to a singer, look, you're not ready, go back and learn? Or like everybody wants, like the dream to be everyone wants to be a celebrity and a star, right? Like they think it's so easy to become a singer. But the reality is you need work, you need to practice. And auto-tune is now.
To answer that question, man, for me, when I started off singing, or got into this field, no one would give me a break. No one would help me, It's just the truth about our industry. Not until you prove something, no one's going to back you up, you know what I mean? So for me, it's like, I had so much hardship at the start of my career where I had to prove myself so many times to get to where I was, that when a new guy comes to the studio, and even though he's not trained and he's not, there with his vocals yet, man, I'll put that work into him. I don't mind. You know what I mean? If you look at the artists that I've launched or I've worked with or I've produced for, most of them have no classical training. You know what I mean? So for me, that wasn't really important because I struggle so much with it. I'm like, if someone has to give this person an opportunity for them to go to the next step, and why not me be that step?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's what I always thought. I always try to help people to grow to the next thing,
Struggles and hardships.
Yeah.
A big point, right? And that kind of gets me to my next kind of question. It's, you left, North America, Canada, young.
Yeah.
You went to the UK, and the UK is was seen as the home of Bhangra. You had some of the biggest producers, some of the biggest singers at that time. But number one is, when did you actually come to the UK?
Mm-hmm.
And number two is, was that the right move?
For me, it was, man. It was. Because I was just a kid, man. And everywhere I look around, Jazzy B was in the UK, crazy inspiration. People from Toronto, and Roach Killer was from Toronto. He was in the UK. So anybody I would look around, they'd always be going to the UK. So me growing up and wanting to be in this music, I'm like, I gotta go there, see what's going on. And first I went a couple times, big shout out to Roach Killer, held me down. I tried to learn the scene, but then officially I went, I think 2012 or 11 or 13, I can't remember exactly when it was. But I went there and did an album with Surinder Rutten, And I think that period when I was there, meeting, going to radio stations and learning about the UK scene and how things are so organized and how you guys have TV stations, you guys have PR, you guys have all this, how everything's so organized, it really like blew my mind. Because I'm here, a kid from Toronto, and I can't even get my song played on a TV station.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And you have a lot of TV stations.
And we have a lot of TV stations here, and they're not even ready to support. And I have to, before I came to the UK, I already did the tour of how things work there. So when I was in India, you have to pay a TV station to play your song. You have to do this. You have to meet this. Like it was just so controlled. You know what I mean? So then coming to the UK, I'm like living there and learning for all this thing. I'm like, this has to be. If this was in Canada, it would be so much better. So what I did was I learned everything there. I stayed there, struggled, and I took the same thing. And I'm like, I'm gonna do it in Toronto, no matter how long it takes. But I'm gonna try to take the same thing and how things are moving and do it here. And I had to come back because I was the only son. I had to take care of my parents and stuff like that. The whole thing. So I had to come back and do it here. No, I couldn't do it there.
The time you spent in the UK, right? It was, you said 2012, 13.
Yeah.
That was a transitional period for the UK scene, because record labels were collapsing. Artists that were kind of releasing music regularly had now started to disappear because financially the rewards weren't there. It was only your elite kind of artists who were kind of making a living from it and making it successful. Did you kind of notice that in that transition? Because look, you mentioned that you spent a lot of time out there, but the sound you brought back wasn't a UK sound.
Yeah.
Right? How was that for you?
It wasn't really like a UK sound was always, was always ahead of this time, at that time. But when I was there, I wasn't really after the sound. I was just more learning how things need to work for this Punjabi music industry in Canada. That's more of the things I was learning there, And me growing up in Canada, we have me and my circle, how my friends are. We had a big hip hop upbringing, like real hip hop and rap. And knowing the lines to every Tupac song, knowing the lines to every 50 Cent song, we really grew up to that, my best friend is a black guy, is not even a Punjabi guy. We here in Brampton, it was really that upbringing that you can hear in my music. It's real hip hop based, and with the folk melodies and trying to put those things together. That's what I've always been doing.
And then you've come back now to Canada, etc., and you're saying you want to kind of build this kind of scene out here. For people that don't know, how kind of non-existent was the scene in Canada?
Man, here it was, how can I put this? There's always been TV channels, radio channels, but those TV channels, radio channels, they wouldn't really play new artists. They would only play what's playing in India or UK. You know what I mean? It's just how it was. So the outlets were there, but if we gave our song to them, hey, Paji, can you play this song for us? They were like, no, give us $2,000, $3,000, and we'll play it. There was no one really supporting, what I felt was UK. It doesn't matter what it is. You guys are still supporting each other, to bring the scene up, So that's one big thing, man. But I guess slowly as music started coming out of Canada, the more music I started putting out, the more artists started working with me. People from India started coming to Canada to work with me. So I guess the hub just started growing bigger and bigger, and it became to where it is now, man.
Yeah. While you was in the UK, right? And again, we had this conversation offline. You learnt music, you worked with Surinder Rattan. Did you ever do any kind of ghost production? Because ghost production in the UK, you can say it, right? It was the home of ghost production. Because there were so many ghost producers in the UK.
Yeah. Sorry to cut you off, man. Yeah. But in 2011, 12, 13, those times when I was in the UK, I went there more as a singer.
Okay.
At that time.
Yeah.
I was producing, but I wasn't really like all out producer. My start of my career was more DJing and me trying to be a singer. I was trying to be a real, you know what I mean? And so that time in the UK, I was just learning, about how things work, and at home I'd be there producing beats and then going back, but no one really knew that I was doing that. When I came back is when I started ghost producing here.
Oh, you started ghost producing?
Yeah, so after I came back from UK, then I came back here, and then I started making beats for other producers, and that's where my hand got fast, because I got to know how a Punjabi song was structured, because I was just making hip hop beats, here's a stai, here's an antra, this is where the interlude needs to be, here's a piecework, this needs to be here, how it takes to make a Punjabi song, So when I started doing that, my hands started going faster and faster, and oh my God, I could do this, you know what I mean? And then I started making my own songs. I'm like, this sounds. I showed my friends, this sounds good, and then it just went like that, you know.
Yeah. But okay, let's talk about singing then, right? So, what was the struggles as a singer? Because I think everybody thinks to be a singer, it's easy to be successful.
No, man, it's hard, man.
And I think now, I think it's even harder because what's happening is people learn about Google Ads. They learn about these numbers and views and whatever. But these kids ain't getting gigs. They're not getting shows.
Yeah.
You know, what is a successful singer? Because singers are made to believe that for you to enter this industry, you gotta have X amount of YouTube views, X amount of
it's different now.
followers.
Yeah.
But that isn't what a good singer is. You know, what's your have you seen this kind of attitude change in singers?
Like that time when I was trying to become a singer, that time was completely different. There was no YouTube just started. At that time, I had my first music video on those big cameras, with the cassette in it. I shot my first music video in India on that. It was hard, man. It was hard. That's why, like, I think I've been so blessed because, you know, starting off as a singer and pretty much giving up in between. And I'm like, if I'm a singer, if I was thinking businessly, I'm like, if I'm a singer, I got to spend money on myself. But if I'm a producer, I can make money. And that time I needed to make money because, you know, I just got out of school and I had no money, you know, in your struggling days. I'm like, how do I make money off this? I'm not getting no gigs as a singer, so how do I do this? So I just started transitioning into, you know, how I can make money out of this career because I didn't go to school, I had no degree, I had nothing, so I had to make something out of this. You know what I mean? So from the singer, I kind of slowly just leaving that and start focusing on producing more. Okay, I get $200-300 here, $200-300 here. I make a beat for this guy. I make a beat for this guy, and you know, you know what I mean. So that's how I started, man. To be honest,
like, look, that's a valid point, man. Like, you know, being a ghost producer. But do you think at the same time, ghost production kind of hindered the scene? And by that, what I mean is, like, you know, real producers weren't no longer getting credit.
Yep.
Because in the UK, what happened was obviously, you know, DJs started paying ghost producers. DJs started getting acknowledged as producers, whereas the real producers, they're kind of getting left behind. Yeah. You know, what's your kind of views on ghost production?
For me, man, it helped me, man. So, you know, I can't really say anything bad about it because it got me to open up and becoming the person I am today. So for me, man, I honestly, if you're in this career and you gotta do what you gotta do to make it where you gotta do, you should do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And yeah, there's two sides of that where, you know, guys that have money can be the face and, you know, they don't really have any talent and all that stuff, and they're in the front and the real singer's behind. You know, we can have that conversation. But at the end of the day, man, so many songs that were huge songs in the Punjabi music industry were done by guys that paid somebody else, and that singer would never have had that hit song if it wasn't for that ghost producer. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
So there's two ways of looking at it, I think. But for me, if I speak about myself, I think ghost production really helped me to open up and making music and becoming who I am.
Definitely. All right. We've got the formalities out of the way. Let's talk about the kind of big names now. You brought some of the biggest names into the industry.
Yeah.
And I think two of the biggest names that you brought was, you know, Sidhu and Karan. And like you said, you opened the doors for these guys. But what people don't realize is these guys didn't come as singers to begin with, they became as lyricists. You know, talking back through that journey, because it's an important journey that these guys went on, because if you wasn't there to open those doors for these kids, they would not be in the positions they are now. You know, Sidhu's done tracks with Burna Boy. He's charted in the UK, you know, mainstream charts. Karan's just signed with Warner Music, etc. That's all with the efforts of yourself. You know, how was it when, let's take an artist at a time. Let's talk about when Sidhu first came knocking on that door for you.
Yeah.
You know, how was that, like, what was that moment like?
I think it comes back to the start of earlier what I said was I've always been there to help people. I've always been that kind of guy. And because of the experiences I had as a singer, I never wanted to do that. Like, for example, if you're a singer and you come to me, the experience you're feeling there sitting to work with me, I've had that already. So I already know what you're feeling. You come into, when I'm going to go see you, I've been to music producer studio, you know, hoping he'll make my song, and that feeling I have inside, hopefully he works with me. I've had those feelings. So when I started getting a name as a music producer, the last thing I wanted was the guy who's coming to see me, him to feel like he was less than me, or he's not able to open up to me, or I always try to make him feel like, you know, you're good, man. Whatever you want to do, let's do it. You know what I mean? So I think that would be the answer to your question is these guys wouldn't have come if I wasn't like that. You know what I'm trying to say? Or helped them to become whatever they were. You know what I mean?
And what was it like when obviously Sidhu came to you and as a lyricist? Because a lot of people, he spoke about his early career. He goes, he was heavy on writing songs and giving people songs.
Yeah.
You know, what was that like when, you know, this young kid is saying, look, I've got songs, etc. Like, what was that kind of engagement like with him?
I was at a video shoot. I don't know if I've said this before at other interviews, but I was at a video shoot and this is about 2016 or 17, I can't remember. And the video director, Harry Singh, Preet Singh, you probably heard of them. Harry's from here. He was shooting the video. And while we're shooting the video, he comes to me. He's like, Deep Veere ko munda main tanu banauna. He's like, huni nama India to aaya. Bahut ghant gaunda. He's like, likhda bhi bahut vadiya. And I'm like, yeah, man, sure. And then I remember he calls his name and he puts down the light because he was holding the light on set. He was working for him as a holding the light for the music video. He puts down the light and he comes to me, you know. And he said, Deep Veere mein thoda li gana lekhe aaya, aa gaya nahi below time. And then he starts singing the song. He starts singing that right there. And I'm like, man, this song sounds sick. And I'm like, koi nahi, aap milte hain studio. And I'm like, tell Harry, I'm like, let's call him. And then I think a couple of days later, he came to the studio. And then, you know, I found out he wrote for a song for Ninja called Ascents. You know, he had already given a couple songs, and he started showing me songs and songs and songs, and you know, I was like, man, this guy really has it. He has, it's different. It was different from what I was hearing. You know what I mean? He was putting the English words in there. He's doing all that, and at that time we finished the G-Wagon song. He literally went to the booth, recorded the G-Wagon song, and then after we recorded the G-Wagon song, and I had gone to India. So I was busy for like a couple months, and then I guess that song got leaked or something.
The infamous gets leaked.
Yeah, but well, what happened was like, I guess I sent him the song, and then he probably sent it to his friends. It was his first song, you know, and then it got leaked and it started blowing up. And then he called me. He's like, "Deep Veere bhi gana bahut chali janda, we aapa release kar diye." And I came back to India, came back to Canada, and they shot the video, and the song came out, and it was his first song. It's crazy, and. To go back to the point where his lyrics, because he was a student and he came here, I wanted to help him. So at that time, you know, every artist was coming to me for music. So every time an artist would come there, I would show his lyrics to the artists. Like for example, Angrez Ali song, he sang a song. I had sent that to him while we were in the studio in India, and I'm like, "Nama munda hai Sidhu Toronto to likhda, bhai gana sunyo." And he heard it. He's like, "Yeah, this is sick. Let's do it." Boom, you know, and then I got his song. There's two, 3 other songs that I got his song sold so he can make some money. You know, so I was just trying to always help people. And you know, after the song blew up, you know, back to back his songs came out, and
the rest is history.
Yeah, rest is history, man.
And then obviously that's one side, right? But before I move on to the other side, it became your kind of catchphrase.
Yeah.
You know, what does that actually mean? Because a lot of people, everyone has their own interpretations of it, right?
Yeah.
But what does that kind of phrase mean? Because it's become like your kind of iconic phrase.
To me, aage nahi below time is just motivation, man. For me, when I say it and when I'm saying it in the song, it's like when my first songs started coming with it, and people like, yo, what's this? Who's this? It was like my thing, like saying I'm here, like aage nahi below time, like this is my moment. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like a motivational thing where there's not really any meaning behind it. It's just, you know, when I first heard it, I was like, yo, this sounds like me. Like, I'm gonna start saying this in every song, and it just took off.
Then the video.
Yeah. And then the song came out after.
Yeah, it was an iconic video.
Yeah.
And the reason I say it was iconic is because there's a lot of young kids in there.
Yep.
Who then blew up.
Yep.
You had Rupen Bao, who's doing amazing things. You know, Big Bird's in there. There's all these kind of key figures in this video. Whose idea was it to bring all these kids together for the video? And did you actually think these kids would then grow on to do amazing things?
No, like I said, man, the Toronto scene is really, really small. So we all know each other. Everyone knows each other, you know what I mean? But at that time, you know, that when I wanted to do that video, I wanted to like show the culture of Toronto and how we do things here and who are the people here. So it was literally like we just called everybody, and there was no formalities, there was no ego, there was no like I'm a star, I'm this. Everyone just rolled. Like we shooting a video. You know what I mean? And in that video, everyone's in that video. You know, so that period, that moment for the Canadian scene was like, that was like
A statement.
it was like, you know, something's happening here. But then obviously when, you know, more music started coming, everyone starts going their own way, things like that. And best of luck to everybody, you know. I've always been there to support and never hate on anybody's success. So big shout out to everybody who's doing something. And at the end of the day, we're doing something for the Canadian scene.
And then that gets moved to the next person. So you got Sidhu on one side, and then you got another kid who's writing amazing lyrics. It's Karan.
Karan, yeah.
And this guy was just, again, an amazing lyricist.
Yeah.
And the difference between this guy was he started appearing in music videos. Because back then, lyricists, it was just a name on like, on a cassette, it would be like, you know, a cassette would just have the name in it. But now suddenly lyricists are now appearing in music videos.
Yeah.
And my first introduction of him was in Daku.
Okay, yeah.
Because you don't pay attention to lyricists, right? And you got this young kid kind of like with a bit of swag walking through.
Yeah.
What was it, when did you first meet him? And then, you know, what was his journey into kind of transitioning to this?
It's all around the same time, man. Even Karan, you know, he came as a young kid, man. He was so young. And I remember, you know, he came by my house, and the first time I met him, I think it was like he called me on my phone. We met through a mutual friend. And he's like, Deep Jandu, Toronto. He's from Vancouver. And he took a flight here. And he's like, I'm over here. And I'm like, I'll come pick you up. And I took I had like a 7 Series BMW at that time. I picked him up. We were riding down the street. He's showing me his songs. And then the rest is history, man. And then from there, we just built such a good connection. We made so much music, man. So much music. And he is really talented, man.
Yeah.
Really talented.
And when you kind of see these guys kind of doing amazing things,
Yeah.
it's a victory for you as well, right?
Oh, for sure, man. For sure.
You know, and I think there's an iconic scene in the film, you know, Biggie's, where the guy goes, you know, when you make it, we all make it.
We all make it, exactly.
And I think that attitude, and I've noticed that in Canada, it's you all celebrate your own successes.
Exactly.
But on the flip side of success comes, you know, like you mentioned, egos,
Yep.
your circles, and things change. You know, you were all this kind of awesome, kind of new generation coming through, and then suddenly you all have your own little cliques.
Mm-hmm.
Then comes the message boards, then comes Twitter, then comes YouTube, and then comments start flying around.
Yep.
You know, when did you ever kind of prepare for this kind of stuff? Because you're flying high, and now suddenly
Yeah.
things are being said which might not be true. Your circles are changing. Everyone's doing their own things. People are deliberately kind of causing rifts, which is kind of tarnishing, you know, what you guys have built. When did you experience that, and how was it for you as a producer?
For me, man, like when I started off music, I didn't really do this to become a star, to be honest. Like I didn't really think about the end goal, like, oh, I'm gonna become a star, or people are gonna come take pictures with me, or I wanna be some kind of, you know, I did music because I love music.
Yeah.
From the start, you know, when you're in a basement making beats, that grind and you know, creating something new, that's what I fell in love with. All this stuff came after. So even when it did come, and you know, everyone built a name, all these things happened, you know, it didn't really affect me like that because I wasn't really in it for that. Yeah. I was just in it to make music. You know what I'm trying to say? But that is the thing about our industries, you know, as you grow older, what I've realized is when you start off, there's not that many people around you, but as you become bigger, more and more people start getting joined into the circle. And I think that is what affects the situation.
Yeah.
You know, because ਜਦੋਂ ਕੋਈ ਪੁੱਛਦਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਕੋਈ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਜਦੋਂ ਨਾਮ ਬਣ ਜਾਂਦਾ then ਬਾਈ ਤੂੰ ਮੇਰਾ ਭਰਾ so ਉਹ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਤੂੰ ਮੇਰਾ ਭਰਾ ਉਹ ਖਰਾਬ ਕਰਦੇ you know what I mean, but man, it's all love because it doesn't really affect me like that because, you know, I never was really in it to be that guy, you know what I mean. I was just there to make music. So if I could be a step in somebody's life, if I was a step in Sidhu's life, if I was a step in Karan's life, amazing, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And then obviously, I think a big turning point in the kind of Canadian music scene and
Yeah.
more Punjabi scene was when, you know, Sidhu was murdered.
Yeah.
It's something that, you know, we portray this kind of lifestyle in music videos, etc. But you never expect it to turn to reality.
Yeah.
You know, how was it for you? Because obviously he's on his own journey, you're on your own journey, Karan's on his journey, etc. Message boards are saying whatever they're saying, but then suddenly, you know, you're waking up or wherever you are in the world that, hold on, everything just stopped. Because the industry literally stood still
Yep.
for a long time when that happened. You know, how did it impact you? Because look, you was a part of his early career.
Yeah. Yeah.
You helped this kid. You guys had chemistry.
Yeah, it's very sad, man. It's crazy. Well before that, I was in India, doing tours with Karan, and we had our own tours and stuff like that. So I got to experience this extortion and people calling us for money and saying we're gonna kill you. And I've already experienced all that. So before leading to that point, so I already knew that this industry has those things. You know what I mean? So when that happened, I was like, whoa, man, this is getting serious. It's out of hand. And I remember when that happened, I just remember sitting there, man, and I remember thinking about Karan. And right away we spoke, and I'm like, man, you good? He's like, yeah, we good. I'm like, yo, take care of yourself. And because the first thing I thought, I was like,
If it happens to one, it could happen to
it could happen to the other, So I just want to make sure everyone's good. And aside from music, we're all human, and we all been there with people's lives, and it's more than music, So when this kind of thing happens, it's crazy, man. It shouldn't happen because we're all here to make music. We're all here to take care of our families. We're all here, do something and make a name and do all that. But man, it's crazy.
But you touched on something which is a very taboo subject, which is this: with success comes jealousy, which becomes, and not even from the industry. This is from external third parties.
Yeah.
Extortion, etc., etc. People need to know about this because now it's if you want to be an artist, you're gonna get these calls.
You're gonna get it, man. You gotta get ready. You gotta be ready for that. So this is what it is now.
How was it kind of like you've gone from being something passionate about music now to hold on? It's now become a kind of business. You're not dealing with internal industry hate. You're now dealing with things on a wider scale of things. And I think it's important to kind of talk about this because look, this next generation who are coming through, they got to know what they're coming into. It's not just going to be a 9-to-5 job where at 5 o'clock you clock out and go home.
For sure. It's a crazy subject, man. You know what I mean? Even like when these things were happening to us, it's like you don't really know what to do. You don't really know who to turn. It's not like you can go talk to somebody about it. I'm trying to say. So just be safe, man. That's all I could say. If you're talking about things in your song, be careful that what you're saying, it's real now.
Yeah.
It's not like can't be just saying I'm gonna go shoot somebody. And our industry is like that now.
Yeah, because even AP in the new documentary,
Yeah.
even he mentioned it, and he's not been around for that long. And this is someone who's literally blown up in the last couple of years, and he's on Amazon talking about this, and it's scary, man. And,
It's the truth about our industry, man. You say you can't do nothing about it, man. It's there. You know what I mean? What can you do? But just all I can say is a new artist coming out and they have a dream to become this. Just know that it's there and be careful, man. That's all you can say is be careful.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And the thing about it is as an artist, it's so hard because you are the people. You are for the people. So it's like if you're going there and you're anywhere. There's 20 people that want to take a picture with you. Yeah. One of them could be somebody that could be affiliated with somebody, or he is somebody, and you just took a picture with that, and now the guys who don't like him are coming after you.
Yeah.
It's crazy because as an artist, you have to be out there. You have to go to weddings. You have to meet people. You have to do things. But sometimes those things get
blown out proportion.
Out of proportion where it shouldn't be because that's not what it is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
How do you find kind of dealing with social media now? Because social media is now, it's a business. It was a business card, and now it's something that you have to kind of stay on. But if you post something, like you said, or you do something which a minority don't agree with, this cancel culture is massive now. Are you always cautious about what goes out?
Yeah. Well,
do you educate?
For me, man, I always think because I've been doing this for so long, I don't really care about posting videos and doing reels and TikToks. It's all love. Everyone's doing it. That's what you got to do. But for me, I always believe the base is music. For me, from God put me here, the situation, the position I'm in is because of my music. Yeah. It wasn't because I was on TV talking about this. I really do interviews. It's probably the third interview or fourth interview I've ever done in my life.
Appreciate it, man.
You know what I'm saying? I've ever done in my life. Yeah. So I'm not really a guy that even knows how to speak or knows how to communicate or talk in public and do speeches. I've never done that, you know what I mean? I'm just a guy that makes music. Yeah. And that's what I've always been doing, and that's what I've been good at, and I feel like the music should speak. You know what I mean?
So, time is obviously very, very short, right? But we've got a lot to talk about. I want to talk now about this kind of next transition for Punjabi music, because we're now pretty much on the door of mainstream now. We're going towards that direction. how's it for you as a producer now to feel like,
It's
you know
crazy,
what,
man. It's
I'm
crazy
ready,
time,
like, I can, like, your next number could be that big mainstream track that shouts through like glass ceiling, even more. You know, as a producer, how do you feel about?
It's an amazing time, man. It's an amazing time.
And in Canada is the one spearheading it.
Like here, like what all the hard work that I, you know, the 18, 19 years that we're talking about that I put in this, it feels like now the ears that need to listen are listening now. You know what I mean? All the time we spent, you know, doing this music and making this music for the Canadian scene, like now, you know, the doors that were never opened are being opened up. You know, so it's such a proud moment for the scene.
Wicked. And what's kind of next with you? Because you know, you dropped a track with Shinda, Badmashi, and I thought lyrically, I thought it was bang on. And there's a bit in there where you say, you know, Jandu ne bahut kalakar banaye. What was the kind of thought process behind that line? Because I thought it was like a proud moment for you, but some people like, yo, he's just, you know, giving it 10 or whatever. But you know,
I'll tell you a crazy story about that, man. That line, I was actually, the actual line for that song was Shinde ne banaye kalakar bane. Because I'm such a fan of Shinda Shinda, his music, and everything he's done I've listened to. And I, you know, from all the singers that went to him to get music done back in the day, you know, I refer to him, that Shinde ne banaye kalakar bane. But then when I submitted that song, when I showed Baji, Baji's like, no, like he's a humble guy too, you know, he's like, no, I don't want you to say that about me, you know, like that I made singers I didn't. And then he's like, why did you say it? And then I just switched it. It wasn't no meaning. I was like, I just said it in the song, you know. But there's no really meaning. I didn't really mean any intent out of it. It was just out of the...
No, I thought, like, from a fan's point of view, and those that follow your journey, you've opened the door for a lot of these Canadian kids. And if you didn't do what you did, look, the reality is, man, half these kids wouldn't be doing what they're doing. But, you know, I want to kind of finish on like a kind of high. You know, what's next with you? What's happening with your music?
It's crazy, man. Like right now, it's an exciting moment for me because all these doors that are opening up, and it's gonna be nuts, man. I can't wait to show you guys the new music that's gonna come out. I'm excited for myself because all the stuff that we worked for, now is the time to show the music. So now we're just working hard in the studio. We're making music, you know, new artists, and we're just creating right now. So hopefully you guys get to hear the music soon and keep supporting like you guys always do.
No, definitely 100%. Look, there's another kind of thing I want to talk about as well. It just kind of slipped my mind. It's, you know, Shinda, legend. But that's a different generation. You know, how does it kind of feel now? Like, you know, you're working with these legends, because back in the day, to even be that same kind of radar of these
that
legends,
room, man. Being in that room is crazy.
And now you're working with them. And the thing is, he's not probably the first.
I took full advantage of like when I came out and like people started knowing who I was, I literally took full advantage of the situation that I was in to work with people that I looked up to. You know, like Shinda Paji was like the god to me, like his music. So for me to work with him was like a tick, like, yes, I did it. You know what I mean? It's like, damn, I did that. You know, Lab Hira was a huge inspiration. I listened to his music when I was growing up. I did a song with him, Tick. Like these, I don't care about the money. I don't care about none of that. It's just for me as someone who loves music to say that I did that when I'm, you know, older is something that I wanted to do.
Who's on the radar? As in, like,
I think I've worked with Debi Maksus Puri Paji. I worked with. I really wanted to work with Sardul, but it didn't happen. Yeah, man. I try my best. When I get the chance, Jazzy Paji I worked with.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, trendsetter.
But do you find it amazing that these guys who've been like,
you know, Gippy Paji I worked with, Diljit, everyone that I want to work with, I did it.
If you had to rank kind of your top, like again, studio experiences, they're all professionals, whatever. But who did you say you learned the most from?
To be truthful, I think I did all those songs. It was a tick for me as an artist that I worked with them. But for me, I get satisfaction when I'm in a studio with an artist who's brand new, that no one knows, and I feel like I hear his talent, and when the world gets to see it and they recognize it, that's what gives me, like.
Do you think these new kids have more hunger?
Oh, hell yeah.
Compared to...
The Canada scene is going to go crazy, man. I'm telling you, man, the amount of talent here, it's on the next level. These guys are writing bangers.
But do you think...
Fire.
With these kind of singers as well, right? Like, look, what's your kind of advice to these kind of kids coming through now? Because look, the scene's changed. You know, you've mentioned what the struggles you went through. It's now easier to kind of Even if you can't find a producer, you can buy beats now online. You can find a lyricist on Instagram. There's loads of lyricists that want to send whatever. But what's your kind of advice to these kids? Because look, you've mentored a lot of people, and I believe you don't get enough credit for that. But how would you kind of say to these kids coming into the scene now? Look, it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. Like, you know, don't fall into the traps of, you know, having to buy these fake views and numbers.
Yeah. What I always tell, you know, new kids is, you know, just humble down. That's all it is, you know. Because sometimes the new guys, they want to come in. I want this. I want to do this. I'm this. I'm this. No, chill, relax. It's about the music. It's not about the cars. It's not about the money. It's not about that. If you focus on just the music, then if not now, if not 2 years from now, if not 5 years from now, God will hear you. People will recognize what music you're putting out. You know what I mean? They might not understand it now. Like when I started making the music that I was making, the hip hop Punjabi music in 2012, 13, I sent it to UK record labels at that time, and they're like, "What the hell is this garbage? It's not gonna play here." Yeah, you know what I mean? But that was hip hop Punjabi music I was making.
But do you think that was
right? They're like, "This is no way this is gonna play."
Yeah. But do you think that was a generational thing? Because like, look, as we get older, our taste might still be kind of stuck in a certain era.
Yeah.
How do you kind of stop yourself from kind of being that guy in 10 years' time when the new kid goes like, this is the sound that I want, and we're like, yo, what?
I guess that when you're in music, you got to be really open-minded, man. Yeah. You got to like, you know. Now for me, it's like if it sounds weird, there's something about that song. Yeah. You know, before, you know, there's certain like, oh, this is the vibe, you know, this is sick, something I would like. But if I hear something and it's like, I don't really like it, oh, that's the one. That's the one. Because for me, my experiences, when I made albums, like I made Karan's album or songs that I made before, usually the songs that we spend months making, and then at the end we would make like one song the week before the album comes out, that's the one that blew up. It's crazy, you don't know.
Chitta Kurta. Was that one of those songs?
Like just random songs, man. Like we make it and just we would think like, this is like we're making this too quick and let's release it. But those are the ones that people like because of the vibe. You're making it right there. It's quick, you know.
But Chitta Kurta again. I know I keep saying last question, but
that's all good.
You're keeping yourself in my mind, right?
As many as you want, man.
You had Karan and you had Gulejak, you know, female powerhouse. People think that she's just come around, but she's been around for years. And she's only recently kind of got that big break. And I'd say G-Wagon was a pinnacle point in her
you know, I speak to, you know, Kulwinder Kelly, Baji and Gulez all the time, and they have so much utmost respect. They even say to me, they're like, Deep, they're like, we were so quiet for so long, but then as soon as G-Wagon came out, it's like, whoa. You know what I mean? G-Wagon came out, and then we dropped, I think it was Underestimate, Gita Jaldar or something like that. Yeah. And then we dropped Scratch with Karan and Gurlez. Like it was like literally 4 or 5 Gurlez after bangers that came out. And it was like, boom, she's
popped off
on the map. You know what I mean?
But that's a one question I want to ask you is these girls came from India, Pooja, Gurlez, etc. But the UK and North America, we haven't quite produced that female vocalist yet.
Yeah, oh, they're coming, man.
Yeah,
they're coming, man. They're coming.
But do you think it's harder for women?
It's harder for sure. That's why it's not so. Like for a guy to come on the scene, it's easier than a female because it's a lot of obstacles, right? For a female to, you know, first of all, be ready to release music and stuff like that. But I'm telling you, the new generation with all this, you know, social media and streaming and YouTube, that there's gonna be big artists coming out of Toronto.
You know, and there's always something that people mention about female artists because the reality of it is, look, they're prone to more kind of dangers than a male artist.
Yeah.
You know, for example, club shows, etc., etc. Yeah. There was an instant where, you know, I think Corby was on stage and someone threw a water bottle at her, etc.
That should be. Yeah.
You know what I mean? But for kind of, what's your kind of advice to these upcoming generation of females because they're gonna face a lot more challenges.
Yeah.
It's not gonna be an easy transition. There's a lot of kind of narrow, even in our community, there's a lot of narrow-mindedness towards, you know, women, what their role is. You know, there's a lot of people that still think, you know, women shouldn't be on stages, they shouldn't be doing this, that, and the other. But the reality of it is, in Bollywood, they're killing it.
Yeah, they're killing it, man. I think it's more open for here. If I speak about here, man, I think it's more open now, man. You know, before, I could say 15 years ago, you know, when I started music, it was harder for sure. Yeah. But I think now, man, it's everyone knows, man. It's not like that before. You know, everyone's a little bit more supportive now. It is still harder than a guy, you know what I mean? But, you know, it's getting there, man. And I hope that it gets to a point where that question is never asked. You know, there should be so many more female singers than
you know,
guys, man. You know.
Definitely. Now, we are gonna wrap up, right? But I just want to ask you, producer-wise, top 3 producers that you're currently feeling that kind of inspire you. It could be UK, Punjabi, India, hip-hop, mainstream, whatever. You know, who you feeling at the minute that's kind of really kind of like, that inspires you, that thinks that this producer keeps up in the game?
For me, man, like, it's crazy. You know, obviously I listen to music that's popping now.
Yeah.
Just because you got to keep relevant, you know.
Yeah.
But for me, I always go back. I don't like, if you listen to my car, it's music from back in the day.
Yeah.
Because those melodies and those compositions are just reused now. It's the same thing, but just chopped up.
And Bally Jagpal was a master of that, wasn't he?
Yeah, just chopped up and reused and chopped up from here and here. That's what it is, you know what I mean? So for me, I think like I dropped the song with Ninja called Death Row.
Awesome.
That did really well recently. Like if you listen to that, it's just a hip hop beat with an old modern composition.
Yeah.
But lyrics are modern. You know what I'm trying to say? So I think that is the base still for me, is the folk music and our original tarja and compositions is still the folk from the back for me. I do the urban stuff too, you know, but for me it's like I listen to the old producers, you know, the compositions, Jhanjhar, and you know, all back in the day, and that's what gives me inspiration, man.
No.
And for me, the hip hop music, I listen to like, you know, more like American producers like Murder Beats or like Metro Boomin or Timberland back in the day. He chopped up samples crazy. Timberland, Swiss Beats, like those are the kind of guys that I was like that I looked up to. You know.
No.
Yeah.
Deep, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Yeah, thank you, man.
Thank you for welcoming us to your HQ. But literally, I just wanted to sign out any song that you want.
Any song I want?
Any song you want, yeah.
Damn,
The
man.
mic's yours.
I'm not even a singer, man. I'll just sing it random.
Yeah, go for it, man.
कारा जट कर जू बलिए बंदा कोई मर जू बलिए बारा मैं कठ नहीं करना नहीं कल्ले दा सरजू बलिए खाली हथ मुड़दा नहीं जेड़ा हड जट ने तोड़ता मुड़ के फिर जुड़दा नहीं जेड़ा हड जट ने तोड़ता दीप जांदू
आ गया नहीं ओही बिल्लो टाइम
आ गया नहीं ओही बिल्लो टाइम